Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor. I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about fidelity, or more the avoidance of infidelity, because this is something that I've had brought up to me a few times, both by people who have cheated and damaged and ruined relationships that they were very invested in just because they couldn't keep it in their pants, or people who have had relationships break down as a result of their partner running off. And it's they always seem to take it on themselves. And in one case, fair enough, it's probably it's probably their fault if they couldn't keep it in their pants. But in the other case, it's also a kind of like, well, no, there may very well have been elements between the two of you, but one person still made the rather immature choice to just run off with someone else, instead of talking about it and either ending the relationship or trying to repair it. Now, there are a few things that I suggest in regards to this, in regards to kind of maintaining fidelity, both keeping yourself faithful and also potentially keeping your partner faithful, just through the kind of closeness and kind of the reflection that they are likely to kind of cast of your behaviour. Yeah, because we're pack animals. Anyone who's seen videos or like diagrammatic kind of examples of body language. The fact that you're more likely to reflect the body language of someone that you're talking to if you're actually having a good conversation. Stuff like that. That happens a lot, and in a more of a kind of macro scale almost, or at least with more frequency in partners who are close. Yeah, so romantic partners, in siblings, in people that live around each other a lot and have an awful lot of kind of appreciation for each other as they go. And so here are the 5 things the for the most part, I think, as well as kind of I've suggested and so on, to kind of maintain that level of fidelity. So the first one is, you may have to maintain that positive bias that you have for your partner. And what I mean by that is, if your partner is always great to you in one way or another, then that means that why would you go for anyone else? Yeah, that's the important thing here. That perception. And there are 2 ways that I feel you can do this. One, it's there, fair enough, and the other one I actually more kind of subscribe to a bit more. But we'll go through both. The first one is actively putting on kind of rose-coloured glasses and not necessarily lying to yourself, but actively minimising the negatives that you see in your partner. Yeah, like actively kind of trying to create positive illusions, and or not necessarily lying to yourself, but kind of downplaying their negative points and upplaying their positive ones. Yeah, be it in a physical way, be it in a non-physical way. In terms of their behaviors and their habits and whatever else. It's one of these things that they tend to do. Yeah. Or that you should do to one extent or another if you're wanting to follow this more positive illusion method of kind of keeping that positive bias. Yeah. The way that I prefer to look at it though is no one's perfect, but that person is there, and you have to, trusting yourself, you have to have a reason for being with that person in the first place, and for being with that person for this long. Yeah, in which case they have flaws, but so do you. You're not perfect, and so as a result, if there is an issue, go and talk to the person. Yeah, and if have that positive bias reinforced by the person sitting down and talking to you, instead of just trying to like delude yourself into thinking that they're wonderful when they're always going to fall short of that. I feel like putting on just throwing on rose tinted glasses and like thinking that will solve the problem only potentially leads to more, just because you're now opening it up to, now you're going, they're this perfect, they're this wonderful, they're amazing, when actually when you actually come up against the reality of it, they're still down here. They've not changed from where they were before. It's just that you're trying to see them more positively. Whilst if they're down here and then there's an issue and it's starting to wear at you a bit, and then you come and talk to them and you approach it, reasonably and you have a chat about it and you realize that you're not perfect and they're not perfect, but you have to have a reason for why you've been with this person so long already, then maybe having that conversation means that they don't change. But the thing is, the thing that you've kind of had the issue with is maybe being reduced, and so as a result they do go up, but they go up naturally and they go up by themselves, not because of necessarily anything you've done apart from just make them aware of something. I feel like that's a healthier way to look at it, whereby they're improving because your relationship is improving instead of anything else. But then the kind of contrast to that, the second point is, potential other partners, seeing them as less attractive, or ensuring that you're kind of having that boundary, having that division between the attraction that you feel towards your partner and the attraction that you feel towards some other random person that you may or may not wish to interact with. That's a big and important thing. Now, the way that I do this, I tend to go, well, okay, my girlfriend is now part of like my environment, that has a kind of moving passage of people through it and all the rest of it. She's part of that more stationary element in there. But then other people that I find attractive or that I enjoy interacting with to one extent or another, those people are transitory. Yeah, and so it's just that kind of approach to the amount of time that those people stay within my personal kind of version of reality, if you like. That helps me kind of break it down. But the same way, it's just a case of, if you want to go from less of a kind of grounded, boundary-based appreciation, then going again for the whole kind of rose-tinted glasses with your partner, but taking them off when you're seeing everybody else. Yeah, just having a maybe a bit more of a focus on how those other people, their negative traits, the things that are uncertain about them, they stand out a little more, and having a more of a focus on where you pay attention to those. Now, the next one along is, again, kind of to do with what I was saying before about kind of reflection of body language and stuff like that. It's along those kind of lines. And it's to do with proximity. It's to do with closeness, as in physical closeness. Because with partners, you'll often find yourself wanting to be very physically close to that person, and often also spending a lot of time physically close to that person, often without meaning to. But that has a kind of neurochemical effect with things like oxytocin being released in your bloodstream, the love drug, and that makes a big difference. So the way to avoid the kind of potential infidelities on a neurochemical level would be to prevent yourself from kind of breaching those boundaries on space. Yeah, keeping that distance from other people, so that the temptation isn't there. And then again, if your partner is reflecting some of those behaviors when you're together and so on, then she or he will be closer to you than they will want to be closer to other people, and they'll see you keeping your distance from other people, and so they are likely to reflect the same. It's the reflection of boundaries. It's that kind of almost unspoken kind of maintained area that you two inhabit. It's just keeping that in mind. Obviously, I'm not saying if someone comes to give you a hug and you're saying hello, then you shouldn't just go no. I do not want hugs because I'm with them, and I do not want to be tempted by you. That's a bit extreme. But just keep in mind that maybe if you're sat in a conversation and you shouldn't necessarily be leaning right in across the table to the person that you're talking to and gazing lovingly into their eyes. Just sit back, be relaxed. Once again, the easy thing is to exert less effort, which again, really, it kind of bugs me sometimes when I'm going through some of this stuff, and especially in regards to things like fidelity, where it's like, this is so simple, guys. But it's like, expend less energy, get more reward. people are lazy enough as it is. They just don't care to pay that much attention to these things. So, again, less energy, more reward. Keeping your distance is the easier thing to do. Just enjoy it. Be relaxed. It's fine. The next one is, quite frankly, the it's been proven time and time again. I think one of the last big studies was in like 2014. I think like 3 years ago, there was a big study around this, and it was just like, the more sex you have, rather unsurprisingly, the closer the two of you are. It's like the more sex you have, the more sexual activity there is. Again, rather unsurprisingly, the closer the two of you are, because you've been as physically close as any two people can really be, and you're releasing all manner of other hormones, including a huge amount of oxytocin, into your bloodstream, into your brain, to kind of create almost an addiction to that person, which is basically what love is. It's an unfortunate, well, not an unfortunate addiction, but it is an addiction that has a very unstable element to it, in the fact that it's reliant on another person. And so, yeah, if you want to kind of avoid infidelity and so on, then finding ways to invest, not necessarily in just sex full stop, but in kind of sexual behavior and sexual activity to maintain that bond. It's a useful and practical thing as much as it is anything else. And I'm not saying just put out just to keep that person there, because that's kind of a tough thing to do. But obviously, if you want that person there and you feel those feelings towards that person, then indulge in the most extreme version of demonstrating that to one another. It's a healthy enough thing. But then the last one that I want to touch on is kind of a difficult one to talk about as well, because it's very up in the air, and it's kind of avoiding people that you become aware of who are or were cheaters. Yeah, people who have already been kind of significantly indulging in infidelity and going their own way, regardless of being attached to someone else. I mean, the number of times that people I've been coaching have come to me and been like, oh yeah, but I felt the need, and so I went and did. And especially amongst men, it's more of a, oh well, I've men were never meant to have just one partner when we evolved, and as a result, I feel this inclination and I've gone with it. And I'm like, no, because you have that realization, you have that awareness of our biology, of the fact that, yeah, we probably weren't designed, and we in fact aren't designed to have one partner, but you're conscious of it, which means that there's a choice, simply put. The girls that I've talked to about this, though, don't seem to be so big on the excuses. They just kind of said, well, I did it, which is odd to me. Maybe it's just the people that I've come across, but still. It's like finding those people who are who have already cheated in the past, who have already been unfaithful previously, because they are more likely, or at an increased risk, of being kind of a lower end of the caring spectrum, and they are more likely to do it again, and so there's a difference between someone like just doing it and being at a higher risk, and someone who's aware of it and takes steps not to do it. And so that's where this list, again, if you are one of these people who wants a stable relationship but who has been unfaithful in the past and has had problems, then please take note of the other 4 things that I've mentioned on this list, because quite frankly, doing some of these things, paying attention to some of these things, will help you remain kind of faithful and attentive, and hopefully remove some temptation from you, as opposed to letting you slip back into an old behavior pattern. Yeah? Again, a lot of this is all about awareness, it's all about learning, and it's all about taking note and taking responsibility for yourself. So, there's that. But also, for those of you who are worried about being cheated on, who are scared about it, it happens a fair amount, fair enough. But again, paying attention to some of these things, paying attention to the history that person is likely to present to you when they are, when you're getting to know them, pay attention to that stuff, and then maybe you'll avoid some heartache. But anyway, that's my 5 things here that ideally should help avoid some infidelity and keeping both you and your partner faithful. Just on that reflective kind of behavior thing as well, because if the more you do this stuff, the more you are kind of pressing for these things, like increasing your personal distance, holding the other person up as being wonderful, maintaining an almost professional level of appreciation for the other people around you, but not getting too intimate, the increase in sexual activity, all of these things, if you are doing them, they are likely to be reflected on you by your partner as well, through appreciation of the fact that you're doing them in the first place. So there's that. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Infidelity is one of these big things. It touches on a lot of people. You've got an awful lot of people who are hurt by it. Let me know. I'd be interested to hear of your experiences and whether or not you think doing some of these things, paying attention to some of these things, being aware of some of these things would actually have maybe made a difference to the situation, or if you think that they will make a difference to your situation in the future. I'm interested to know, so please let me know. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you found this at all interesting or enjoyable, then please drop me a like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.